sometimes it is just too much.
So embarrassed.
Am I just talking too much?
I don't remember any of that.
There's a lot I don't remember, too.
Too much information?
We say that after every one of these, and for some reason, we're employed all the time.
Too much, it's ruined.
I can't believe we have a show.
We might not tomorrow.
Stacy and Hutch say too much.
Here we go! Stacy and Hutch say too much. We've been doing this podcast 4 times this week.
I know. It's been very busy.
It's been so busy. We first had Ben on from Love is Blind. Now we got Dave on, and we're live on Facebook. So if you want to ask a question, put it on there. We'll throw it to Dave. I do want to give a warning to Dave. My fiance's name is Lauren.
Uh-oh.
So if I get angry about something, just know it's probably coming from a place of protection of Lauren.
Sure.
Because they both brought it up to me because we had seen your first episode. And I said, I don't know about Dave. He said some things. It was negging. And Stacey goes, I think he's misunderstood. Mm-hmm. And I think he's joking. So there's going to be talk about kind of the things that you said and how it came across to you. I want to get to this question right away because TJ asked us, and it's such an interesting question about this show. When you're in the pods, obviously Love is Blind. We all know what the concept is. You don't see each other, and then all of a sudden you get engaged and you see each other. Is it weird to watch the first 6 episodes where you're in the pods, you can't see reactions, and all of a sudden now you're seeing their reaction to something you said? Is it a weird feeling?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was weird seeing all of it because, like, it's so hard to listen to yourself. You know, like hearing your own voice, someone that doesn't listen to themselves often, like, so weird just to like kind of get used to that. And then we had to watch it just like everybody else. You know, we had no idea what was going to be shown, what wasn't going to be shown. So there was a lot of like excitement, but also nerves going into it. And yeah, I mean, seeing people, how they reacted, especially to the things I said. It was interesting. You know, it was something I had to get used to, just like kind of reliving that moment. Cause I remember going through that experiment and like going into like the pods are open, you know, and I'm just like a happy-go-lucky kind of like keep things light personality. And it came across really well, you know, honestly. And there were a lot of guys that overthought things. I think they really like tried to plan too much in advance and came on really strong. And it didn't really work out for those guys. So I'm pretty happy I approached it the way I did. And just kind of let my humor and personality show through the wall, I guess. Because I mean, you got to say something. You only got 8 minutes ish, give or take, with each person in the beginning. And you just want to, I don't know, I wanted people to feel comfortable and like kind of laugh along with me and stuff like that in the beginning.
So I guess let's get to it. The comments that were made, that you made initially in your head, I truly believe that you thought you were kidding or you were joking.
I thought you were joking and I laughed.
But
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But my first reaction is he's negging. And if you don't know the definition of negging, basically it feels like a put down. You know, It feels like what you said to her, even though you can't see her, was very misogynistic.
Do you remember what it was? It's like, how old are you? I'm 30. Well, so you're no longer attractive. And I laughed. I was like, that's funny.
And that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
You know, I was like trying to show that side of me. Cause like I talk like that, kind of sarcastic and, you know, make fun of people in a light way, like with all my friends, family. Like if you know me at all, like that's what I'm like.
Do you see how it comes off though? And being portrayed when you watch it?
I'm starting to understand it a little bit. It is hard when people see just like a 10-second clip of someone they don't know. I understand where they're seeing that a little bit. But it was hard to to see those comments come in about, like you just mentioned, like misogynistic or sexist or whatever, because I'm not like that at all.
But those are also heavy words to take from a show that's edited.
Right.
We got to be really careful. And I also come from a place where you kind of annoyed me in the episode a little bit.
Sure.
But also watching the show, I actually have less of an issue with that, more just like the show. But we got to stop this whole immediately. First reaction is to throw an intense label on stuff.
Throw daggers at everybody immediately.
Racist, misogynistic, sex. I'm not saying that. But we got to be careful because we've gotten into a habit of just being like, somebody said one thing and that came across as insert intense, heavy label that follows people around.
Sorry to cut you off there, but like in that moment, you don't think they're really going to use anything you're saying at that point, right? Like you think I'm just in there joking around, having a good time with it. Because it's a very like stressful environment. Because people do in the back of their heads know like I might be here for a day, might be here for 2 days. You know, you don't really know. But I agree. I totally agree with you. We do live in a society now where people just want to jump the gun and be like, "Oh my God, this guy sucks!" Like
knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, he's racist, he's sexist, he's misogynistic, whatever label you want to throw at it. It's like, okay, let's relax. Let's just see how things go first before we jump to conclusions.
But you also did admit that you've learned a lot, obviously, and
I've definitely learned a lot about how people perceive me, or like can misunderstand things right away. So like I've tried to be a little bit more clear when I'm coming across like that. But again, I couldn't see their reaction. They couldn't see my face either. So it's like
that makes it harder.
It makes it a lot harder to come across as like everyone, like to make sure everyone knows where I'm coming from.
And this is funny because this is why I get him, because I have that same kind of sense of humor. And so the same thing happened to us because Hutch and I were on the air talking about something, and he was teasing me about my age. I'm older than he is. And he said, "Oh, people over 40. I go, "Yeah, useless." Because I'm obviously over 40. But some listeners don't know that.
So am I.
I guess. Right. And so we made that joke with each other, deadpan. And then I got a scathing email from this woman who was furious with me. Thought we were so, she thought we felt so
ageist.
Close and thought I was ageist and, karma's a bitch and you're going to get older. And I'm like, lady, I'm like, how do you think that I don't realize I'm going to get older? And by the way, I'm way older than 40. And I didn't even write her back because I thought there's just no explaining it to her. So I get that. And my former brother-in-law was the same way, like those kind of jokes, but I didn't know him yet. And I didn't like him at first. And then I was like, oh, he's kidding. Dry humor. Hilarious. Now he's one of my favorite people in the world. But when you can't see that person, hence on the radio can't see my face either. Now I totally get you. But if I were in the pod, I might not get you either.
Yeah. And to touch on that too, the age thing. For some reason, it seems like people aren't putting together the pieces that I said that to Lauren, the person I end up getting engaged to. So it's like,
right.
Okay, yes, it was a joke, and she clearly took it as a joke because we went the distance there in terms of the engagement and everything. And that's what it was hard for me to understand, where people are like jumping to conclusions again, because it's like, if you watch throughout the rest of it, I end up getting engaged to this woman. So,
well, that's what Ben said. I will say this: Ben loves you because Ben. I said first thing to Ben, I go, this Dave guy, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like what he said. He goes, I think Dave's a guy that you're going to see progress through the show. And I think he said the word grow. And I think by the end of the show, you're actually going to like him and you're going to do that. When it comes to obviously the editing of the show and what you say, do you think that you're being portrayed as you throughout these first 6 episodes? Do you think that you are being portrayed as that's my personality, that is me, including the joking and the
Yeah, I think they did a good job of portraying me for me, because I mean, obviously everything I said in there, I said, the way people understand it or interpret it might be a little bit different. So it's, interesting and kind of shocking to see reactions to what I said. But yeah, no, I definitely grew a lot from the experience. I thought, when they show those moments of me like crying, people are kind of, can I swear on here?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talking shit about like, guys swear a lot. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Come from a big
we do
Irish
too.
Catholic
We
family,
just
so.
the government.
I've had to limit the amount
sure.
of F-bombs I put in.
Just figured I'd check. But yeah, so it was. I kind of forgot what I was saying there, but
what was he saying?
Yeah.
Crying.
Oh yeah. So like, I had a full-on mental breakdown. Like they showed maybe 2 minutes of that, like where I was like standing at the table and we were laughing about it. Joey's there. Joey with the long hair is like flossing his teeth, like while I'm just breaking down in the corner over here.
I'll be back.
But like going into that moment, I was like, it was a full-on off-camera thing that happened, and I just like completely broke down. Like, wasn't necessarily only about like the relationships. It was about like where my mental state was at, because it was so hard for me to understand how I could have so much fun in one date and things go so well, and then go into the next date and it'd be even better sometimes. Like when I was talking to Lauren, and I just like freaked myself out because I was like, God, I feel like I'm being, I don't want to be seen as like this narcissist or something. I was just going through the process the way best I knew how. And they encourage that, they tell you, what's best for you and your relationship coincidentally is best for the show too. So it was a lot all at once for me to kind of take in all in that moment, because I knew what the end game was and what I wanted out of it. And I knew I was being very authentic and genuine. But then I knew at some point it might look bad or negatively too. And it was just hard to come to that conclusion.
I'm wondering, it's kind of a two-part, because sometimes I don't know where I sit with the show. I watched one season previously. I recalled enjoying it.
You know which one?
No, not a clue. I was wondering, sit with my chick at the time and watch it. I don't know what season it was. I watched this one and I thought it was going to be gung-ho, and I was watching it, and from like a social point of view, and I will get to a question from this, but I don't blame the people that make the show, because I think it's genius, especially with the dating world. You put all these people in here. But part of me is like, the people that make this show know what they're doing. They're throwing people in here. I said young adults, but you guys are like 30.
Yeah.
You're a grown-ass man. I'm looking at you. And you're watching people with how it is, where in a society where men are definitely very well aware to not hurt women. And I think that's created a level of indecisiveness and fear of sometimes being honest. Then you have women who want men to just make a decision, be direct. And you found a guy in the last episode who was struggling with that decision. Both girls attacked him, be like, make a choice, bitch. Yeah. And I'm wondering, because I'm like you, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm getting somewhere. I'm like you. I look at the show, and I had some listeners say like, Alex should go on the show. No, I'd be canceled in a minute, because I'd be like you. I'd have a dry joke or something like that, and it would cut to the girl who's just like, that was gross. And I'm wondering if you thought that with, you're going to be speaking through a wall. I would think about, how am I going to come across here? Did you have any question when you were deciding going on to the show of like, is this for me? Because you did admittedly say at one of the early episodes, you're like, I hope I'm not confusing with somebody. I kind of played, I wasn't always great to women. I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you kind of implied that you weren't always the best in relationships. Yeah. And this was your chance to test that. You felt like that was the right place to test it. And I'm just kind of interested in the decision making.
What you're saying there. That was because like a lot of people want to know, like, why did you go on the show? Why did you
benefit, risk, reward?
Exactly. And I dated a lot. My last actual girlfriend, I was like, ended when I was like 27, 28. So it's been a while. And in between that time too, I moved to Chicago for about 3.5 years. And I dated a lot in Chicago, but it was kind of like this. I was figuring out, I was like, the women I was really into weren't really into me. And then the ones I wasn't really into, they were really into me. So it was kind of juggling all that. The only reason I ever mentioned, like, I haven't been good to women is just like, I've only dated actually dated like 3 women prior to all this. And the only reason I brought it up is because my last relationship, the most recent one that I mentioned, it ended because I cheated on her, and it's something that I'm not proud of, and I would never do again. And it's really weighed on me.
You mentioned that in the show.
I did mention that
to Molly, or to to both, maybe.
So that's how me and Molly connected.
Okay.
We connected talking about,
she was in a relationship as the other woman, right?
Right. And this is a whole different story. We can talk about that later, but because I know she, in the beginning, she mentioned, I didn't even like make this connection yet, but she mentioned like, I've never had a boyfriend or something going into it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. I don't even really need to talk about that, honestly.
Yeah, it's not your thing.
But like, that's how me and Molly connected, was because we both admitted, hey, we haven't been the best in relationships. And our like relationship kind of grew based off of that. And I had like a trust in her with like sharing those details, because it's hard for me to talk about, and it had been hard for me to talk about. And what you don't see, I talk a lot about how, being like bad with women in the past has just been like not necessarily looking for marriage in those relationships. And that's how you should date. But, and same with Ben. I know Ben gets a lot of shit, but it's like, I've been 26, 27, 28 too. Like, I wasn't perfect, and nobody is. So just learning from that, trying to learn from my previous mistakes and grow from those.
I think everybody's got to give I'll almost shut up after I say this. I won't, but I think we all got to give each other a break, especially on this show, because you guys are regular ass people.
Right.
You're not the Kardashians.
Right.
You're not these huge celebrities who have. You guys have jobs that you go back to. You guys have to possibly continue on in the dating field.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want, if I went on this show, people to cut me, especially if you're openly honest. And I don't recall you saying the cheating thing. I did think you and Molly were going to get together.
They briefly showed it.
Okay.
Which was interesting. But.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
we just come down
to be
on
honest,
everybody
it's
so
like
much.
that was
crazy.
it's a very hard thing for me to share.
Well, yeah, because
and
you don't want to
thought-
be judged. You feel bad about it,
Yeah, and of course I know, like you guys have mentioned, it is in the back of your head that like eventually everyone's going to see this if they choose to show it.
Mhm.
And I think everybody has their own sense of everyone's going to see what I'm saying at some point in that.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, that was the most open, honest, genuine I've ever been in my life. I don't talk about relationships much to like my friends, my family. Like we never really talk about that or haven't in the past. I'm sure we will now, but
did it feel good to let it out?
Absolutely,
to say
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And so do you feel like there's a lot more you can let out, and especially when it comes to maybe your mom's death or your relationship with your sister, or because it seemed like when you said that, because I remember now you saying that, visually it felt like you went, huh. You just had this sense of, I said it out loud.
Yep.
And I don't think that, once a cheater, always a cheater. I think there are definitely different situations in that.
Yeah.
And I know you felt bad in that situation. It's just hard because how I saw the show and how it was moving and progressing, even to the teaser of the next 3 episodes, when you talk about Lauren's hair, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like,
we
like
laughed about that already.
Okay, good. Because there's something there that I genuinely want to try to understand you, and that's why I have questions. And I think I'm the average viewer. I think I can do that. Stacy loves dark senses of humor. Alex is probably, if there was a jail for dark sense of humor, he would be the warden.
He'd run it.
Yeah. And so I'm really trying to put myself in a situation, understand you, and not judge. Where do you think the dark sense of humor comes from? Did it develop late in life? Was it something you just grew up in? Like, did you have that with your dad, with your mom? Where does that kind of happen?
Did you grow up here?
Was it trauma?
I grew up in St. Paul. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Cretin-Derham Hall. Like that's where a lot of my dad and all of his brothers went. I think some of my aunts went to Durham at the time back when it was.
You grew up in Minnesota, Irish,
Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
I
joke about like Christmas Eve I've done it in the same house my entire life. So like my grandpa's house where they grew up. My dad's one of 9. So it's like, It's so funny. Cause like even Christmas Eve still, they all try to talk over each other, cause they all need to get their word in. Cause there's so many of them and everything. But like to answer your question, the humor part, it's something, it's more so like with my friends. That's how we are. Like we are the first people to like, we'll talk shit to each other's face in our group chats all day, every day. But behind closed doors, like if somebody says something bad about my friend, I'll be the first to defend him. So it's kind of one of those, like, that's just how we are. We just like to joke around, and life is short. I say that a lot. And you can't just take things too seriously. I just truly believe that.
There wasn't a lot of like, I love you, mom. I love you, dad. Maybe with your parents, but
no.
They're just there was no hug. It wasn't huggy. It's just not the way. Very stoic.
Yeah, and me and my dad are like very similar. I think I'm a lot like him, and I think that's a great thing. But me and him, we never talk about this kind of stuff. We never talk about relationships or feelings.
I think we're very much alike, actually.
Yeah.
Which is kind of freaky.
Yeah.
That's why I get you.
So when I get in situations like this, I'll say it as an experiment, because in that moment, it really was for me. That's when I have like mental breakdowns and stuff, because everything comes rushing all in at once. And it's a lot to handle, because I'm not really used to talking about that kind of stuff.
Okay, we should really talk about therapy then. It'll
Over
really
dinner, I'm
help.
thinking you're getting to.
No, with Lauren, because I think that will be very helpful. Because if you can
My
get
Lauren or his Lauren?
well, maybe both.
Oh, you don't want
Laurens.
to talk to my Lauren.
Then we can all go shopping for wedding gowns
Well,
together.
Let me ask
You
you
can't
this.
I can't come to that.
Well, and we don't even know. You know, we
Yeah.
still have to watch the show.
I'm
We don't know what
assuming.
happens.
I'm
But
assuming.
I think
Yeah.
therapy with yourself first. You know, I mean, have you thought about that? Have you done, especially after your
Yeah.
mom's death? Did you change your way of dating other women after your mom passed?
I don't think yes or no on that. I think anything I took from my mom's passing was more about how I live my life. There's so many experiences and things I've done since then that I never would have done if she was still around. It's really what gave me my sense of like life is short, life is very precious. You know, it can be taken away from you at any moment. So I really learned a lot more about, you know, making use of your time as wisely as you can, going out, like going on trips, going to experience new things, I think is really important. If you're okay with that, I know it's a lot for some people to go and do that, but I learned way more about that and myself and how to carry myself as opposed to dating.
Can you explain your relationship with your sister and why that's so important to you? Because I'm sure people are.
Yes.
There's two sides of this. It feels like on the show is that he's so close with his sister.
Mhm.
It's
Not
a great
too
bond.
close though. I would
He,
imagine.
No.
he cares about what she thinks and
Mhm.
is nervous about introducing someone. And there's other people. It's like, man, it's your relationship. Why is your
Yeah.
sister so involved? Not that she is. I don't know her.
Mhm.
Why does it feel like you're making her so involved in the process?
Yes. So to touch on that, my sister she was having a really hard time accepting the fact that I was going to go on the show when I told her about it. Like she was worried about production.
Younger sister?
Older sister.
Older sister.
Yep, and it's just us two.
Okay.
And she was just really worried about like what you're seeing now with like backlash and negative comments and things like that. Like that's what she was really concerned about. And she was just having a really, really, really hard time like trying to understand why am I going to do this. And it was hard for me to explain to her also why, because like I said, we don't really talk about stuff like that very often. So and this was me and her, like I went over to her house with her and her fiance and we were like talking about it and she was like distraught. She was like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this?
Mhm.
She just could not figure it out. And it was one of those things like when I went there, she already had her mind made up. So no matter what I said, like she was just not going to be okay with it. So taking that where my head was from that part, and then I left like 2 days later, it was just in the back of my head the whole time. I was just like, oh man, you know,
As
just
she
trying
watches
to-
it now, she's like, I told you.
That's what I'm
Oh,
wondering.
absolutely. She
where's-
texted me and she was like, I don't want to tell you I told you so, but you know.
Yeah.
told you so.
Is that where she sits now? She's seen all six,
I'm assuming she's seen all six.
and is that kind of she's still
she's
kind
cool
of
now. Like I
Yeah.
think she's very over that part. I think it was just a very emotional moment for her because like she's, you know, I like you mentioned, I lost my mom. We both lost our mom, and she's like, you know, my mother figure in my life for the
Mhm.
most part. She's a lot like my mom. So I think she takes a lot of like that responsibility on herself to like look after me and make sure bad things don't happen. But I'm also like, sometimes even if you know it's a mistake, you gotta make the mistake anyway to learn from it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go test it and see what happens. And I think it also helped me because you see then in the pods and everything, I was just my normal self. You know, I didn't try to put on an actor face. Like I'm sure some people didn't say a lot of what they actually wanted to say.
Mhm.
I did because I had nothing to hide, nothing to hold back, and it was just truly myself.
I will say this. Well, number one, if I found out my little brother was going on Love Is Blind, I would do the same thing. I would tell him, no, it's not worth it, dude.
Yeah.
I will say, if you can get through this stuff, you'll feel like a million. I remember the first time I bombed on stage in front of people, and I
Oh.
walked away from that actually feeling like bulletproof. Like if you can ride the wave and get through like people just coming at you from all angles, you'll realize, oh, it did nothing to me.
Mhm.
And you'll just be more confident about being honest and all that
Like
stuff.
I can
Yeah.
suck again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm riding
kinda.
that wave a lot right now.
Yeah, it's
in
hard.
in the beginning, it's really hard because people are so mean online.
Mhm.
And it's like we all kind of knew that going into it. We were all like, people are gonna say what they're gonna say anyway. It doesn't actually like resonate until it actually comes out and you know what people are talking about.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even watch it until later on last Friday.
Mhm.
So I started to get all the notifications right away and these comments coming in, and they were mean. Like I had a moment, again, I didn't think I could watch it because I blocked it and deleted it right away because I was like, I don't know how to deal with that. Because somebody mentioned right away, like, your mom would be so disappointed in you and
Oh,
like
that's
things like that. And I
rude.
can't deal with that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
where I draw
harsh.
the line. Like if you want to like, come just, I don't know, if you want to make fun of my appearance or something or come at me in a different way.
But don't bring up mom.
But like when you call like what we were talking about earlier, like misogynistic, sexist, all those words, and then also bring in my mom and saying how disappointed she would be in me, like that's just
Over the line.
yeah, I was gonna say crossing the line. And I don't know how to handle that.
Is there
Mm.
something that you've seen on the show now, or maybe coming up that you regret, want to apologize for to another cast member or anything like that? Is there something that, I guess we could say regret? Is there something on there that you're like, you know what, that even if you didn't mean it coming across a certain way, that person can still feel hurt. That person can still feel a certain, is there something that like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. Is there something that
I don't think I had any of those moments. I think they already showed, the jokes that I made and stuff. And the people I made it to, I actually dated a lot of the women for a long time. Like it was received very well on the other side.
Because you're
and the ones that
you're in there for
didn't,
2 weeks dating, I believe.
roughly,
If-
give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is interesting. Like everybody dated throughout that process. And they, they show Joey getting engaged like right away.
Yeah.
I mean, they
That
dated.
surprised me.
Same. I was, so not to backtrack here. I was really excited to like watch the show because there was so much stuff. I wanted to see how everybody else acted. I was like really curious to see what all this other drama was that I didn't get to live or see.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just, they just showed me a lot. And I was like, can I just get me off the screen? I want to enjoy watching this too.
There is a lot of you. There is
are.
a ton of you.
Yeah.
You're a star.
And I think between you and Mason, there's this portrayal of, especially on Mason's side, of making someone feel bad for dating two people at the same time on a show where you're supposed to date multiple
people.
people.
That's
I'm glad you
crazy
see it like that.
I think Mason for sure, 100%. I don't know your whole story because yours and Mason's story is so different. He got beat down
He did.
by Madison for wanting to date two people. I get saying, hey, I'm going to commit to you, and then going, oh, I've said things to Stacy I instantly regret and have to come back later and be like, I'm sorry. Like, I get that, but I feel like you two were focused more on dating multiple women than anyone else on the show. It's part of the show. It is the show. And so do you feel that you were unfairly talked to sometimes by Lauren or Molly? It seemed like Molly handled dating two people better than Lauren did. But again, Lauren wasn't back in with the women saying all the details of her date, where Molly was,
Right.
Yeah.
and Madison
Right.
were. What is your opinion and your take on dating multiple people in the pods? And do you feel like, especially Mason was?
Yeah. I think, my opinion on that is the people that are there for the right reason to really grow from it and get engaged and like be realistic about this could be someone I actually get married to and spend my life with. Those are the people. I mean, you're going to go through that process and you want to be sure. You don't want to just drop everybody off, just because you might look bad on TV or something. Like if you're really there and that's what you want out of the experience. I think you should trust the process, whether it's perceived negatively or positively by the public. I think it's important to go through that because, you do develop feelings for multiple people. They didn't even show, like, me and Taylor dated for a very long time, and they didn't even show us once. And
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this in a podcast last week too, but like, I had to break up with Taylor. I won't get into it, but I thought they would even show that more than some of the other stuff. But I think, long story short, I think if you're there for the right reasons and you really want to learn and possibly marry someone, you should date as many people as you can because it really helps narrow it down and make you feel sure about what the decision you're about to make.
Do you feel like you were being punished for dating multiple people?
No, I don't think I was being punished. I think, like I mentioned earlier, coincidentally, what's good for the relationships is also good for the show.
Because it seems like you had good resolution with Lauren.
Yeah. And
at the end there,
I was hoping there's a lot more depth to me and Lauren's relationship. There's a lot that they showed, me and Molly talking about, whether it was like sex or politics or like any, real things that come up in relationships. And I don't know. I even told that story about how I got a 6 out of 100 on a paper. I don't know if you guys got
that was you.
Big
yeah.
6. Whee!
Yes. And I went up to the teacher. I was like, "Did you forget a 0? Like, what's going on here?"
Have you talked to that teacher since the episode aired at all?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
I don't even know if she'll remember that.
Yeah.
But I like when they showed that, I thought they would show that me talking to Lauren because she used to be a teacher. I was kind of confused. I probably told this story to both of them.
Yeah.
Because you're in there for a very long time.
It's like, what do we expect? We literally put people in if you catch feelings for somebody, then you're very quick to forget that there's a person on the other side of that wall that's never actually met you in person. And there's a time limit and pressure to feel like you have to actually legally marry somebody.
Yes.
We literally we make them date multiple people, which in the real world would be so frowned upon. So we're already forcing them to do things that socially is like taboo. And and then they act the way that we don't want them to act. And we say, how dare you? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me.
Or as everybody said on the show, it's insane. It's so insane. Insane.
Do you have, I want to spin a little positive. I don't want this whole thing to be like, you feel good about yourself. How difficult is it? Because you see throughout the episode, and it almost becomes slightly redundant, where somebody goes like, I really just want to meet somebody that treats me nice. And somebody goes like, that's awesome. Is it true? Do you actually feel like positive reactions through that wall? Like when I see you just go like, I love
such a great question.
You sound so amazing. You sound this. How genuine is that? And how much of it is like, I like that, but I'm also 50% just rolling the dice that I like it.
That is such a good question. I hope you ask Ben that because that's hard to answer.
I talked to Ben. Sorry to interrupt. I talked to Ben when I had only watched one episode, and I was like, I don't understand it. So I missed that chance with Ben.
It's so hard to even explain right now, but I'll do my best. It's so hard to, because like I know I meant like those very kind things that I said through the wall. I know how I felt saying them. But it's so hard to understand how it's being received. They even show some of my reaction to what they showed of like Madison and some of the other couples. I was like, they don't care. Like some of the facial expressions and things that I was seeing, she was like, had her blanket on over her head and stuff. I'm like, I don't know, so it's hard. Like, I have no idea what's going on the other side. Some people voice like what they're doing, I don't know if you catch on to that. Like some people are like, I'm taking my shoes off, or they're like trying to explain what they're doing. But yeah, it's tough. It's really, it's another kind of mind game with the experiment because you really don't know why that other person is there. Like, do they really want to be there? Are they there just to
be famous? Or
and that's going to come up now because of how popular the show is, and that comes up a lot, but it's hard to understand that through the wall. For sure.
Because I think about it in my own dating experience, and I picture looking across a dinner table at a restaurant to somebody, and you make a joke, you can see if they laugh or not. You can sense a sense of humor. You talk about something, you can see if they're bored out of their mind or not. And then you watch that, and I hear a guy go like, a girl's like, oh, I'm wearing this slink bikini, whatever. And the guy's like, oh, I'm picturing that right now. You know what she looks like. You're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's difficult. I was curious, definitely, if how much of that you're saying you're understanding and you feel certain ways, but do you actually?
Yeah. And honestly, that was a big part of like me and Lauren. Like I heard some stuff that Lauren was getting attacked for being like a pick-me girl or something. And it was like, I'll defend her there for sure, because she was just voicing to me how she felt. And I liked that validation. I liked hearing her say that, how she really wanted to be with me. I think that really was something, it obviously stuck out to me because I still remember that. And I feel like it's just unfair for people to like label her like that, because she was just telling me how she felt. And I knew that I was their last person, Molly and Lauren. So obviously I'm trying to figure it out too. It's, it's a tightrope that you have to walk, but
can we bring up Joey's dance moves real quick? Sorry. You were talking about the thing they introduced, I think it was this season, was the headphones.
Yeah.
and you guys had headphones, you're able to do music or whatever it was. Joey's dance moves on how to learn how to dance, like was it Madison
Oh,
or
when he going
Monica's
like
did-
this?
when he was going like this? And
I
like,
just thought I thought
I
there
don't
was
even
no
remember that. Is that
it's
was it bad?
season. I mean, it's hard because when you try to explain how your dad dances and he's trying to do the same moves, it's not even close to what
She was
It's
trying to
put your
teach
arm
him.
up and do this.
You're trying to do this Latin like this.
Oh,
It was
sure.
weird.
And he started going like this, gyrating.
That sounds about right for him.
I
Honestly.
protect that man at all costs.
was there embarrassing moments where you're like, oh God, I hope they don't show this when in the pods, or like, did you dance? Was there something in
Anything
the pods
cringy?
you did that
Not that I remember. But again, though, so I'll revert back to what I touched on earlier was people. I know everybody there, whether they want to admit it or not, they know in the back of their head like this could be on camera. So people are doing certain things that, maybe it is what they want to do. Maybe it's just for
they're kind of
show.
editing their movement or
Yeah,
something.
maybe they're just trying to like put on a little show or something. But
Can't help it.
yeah, that's kind of where my head goes there is like I think everyone kind of understands that, but you don't know what they're going to use and what they're not going to use.
was there in the back of your head too? Is like, oh my God, I got to watch it because I might lose my job, I might lose friends, I might lose family, I might lose
Might get canceled.
yeah, I might get canceled.
Yeah, there's an aspect of that. But I mean, if you're a genuinely like good person and you really like have good values and want to do things the right way, I don't think you should worry about that. I think you should be yourself, have a personality, and I would never apologize for like having a personality. And I'm gonna give like the other castmates shit and stuff because like were they all just like really boring or what? Because like they showed a lot of me, and then like I didn't talk about aliens and stuff. Like were they all just like I don't know what went on in all these other pods, but like I was just having fun, but also being vulnerable at the same time and going through the process. Just I thought the right way, not to like toot my own horn, but that's how I felt. I felt I was just trying to do the right things.
There were a handful of people that all kind of meshed together a little
Yeah,
bit.
some of them
Fair.
I was just looking at the cast on my computer and I was like, I don't even remember that gal.
Is that because they
Right.
didn't form connections or they didn't? Because you can put people together, but not everyone's going to fall in love.
Yeah.
Because you only had a certain amount of people in the cast,
Right.
and you're, Cassie's not going to fall in love, or Yemi's not going to fall in love.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it shocking how many people maybe didn't connect? Or
I think it's I don't want to try to see how I can phrase this because a lot of people did connect.
okay,
And again, I touched on this earlier, but I was really excited to watch some of that. But again, maybe they just didn't have great conversations. Maybe a lot of it was
well, a show can't be
You-
30
you
episodes.
You don't have
Yeah.
to. You don't have to say it, but I'll say it. I did some reading, and there were some reports. I don't know how true they are, but there were some reports that like there was a couple that got produced out of it.
Okay.
But they are together and
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
I think engaged. I think there were like 2 or 3 of those
That's
that
cool.
they decided for whatever reason to.
Well, it's
Yeah.
hard too
These
in the
people are too
pods. to-
perfect.
I
2
mean,
weeks
and
get engaged. It's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I voiced that. I don't know if they'll show it or not, or if they have shown it or not. But I talked a lot about that. Like the timeline was always an issue. It was like very real. And I get it because as you go through that pod portion and everything, you spend a ton. I know you said Ben said like 20 hours or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's way more than that. I think it's probably double that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And again, though, it was all voluntary. They didn't make us do that in the night dating stuff too. They never forced us to be there. We were there because, and we talked about it as a group of guys. We were like, why are we here? You know, like, would we rather go back to our rooms and do nothing? Like, this is why we're here. So let's stick around and try.
How did you even get on the show?
They DM'd me on Instagram.
So they found you.
I
Okay.
think they cast a wide net. I mean, my friends that are happily married and stuff, they got same messages too. So I think it's similar to if people like recruiters out there trying to get you for a job or something, they probably throw it out to a ton of people and see who responds. And I figured I'll take a phone call. Why not?
What was your
I was
initial
dead
reaction?
single.
Were you?
That was my reaction. I was like, I'll take a phone call.
See what
like
happens.
what's the hurt in that?
How long from the time they reached out to you actually started filming? Was it months, years? I mean,
Mine was long.
Okay.
Because I think I got reached out to pretty early, I think.
Okay.
And again, at that time, I was just dead single. I was like, yeah, I'll go through the process. And then it started to get dragged out pretty long. To a point where like I thought about like backing out almost because I was thinking like, how many times I got to answer these same questions to validate myself or something. I was kind of getting annoyed. But it's a very rigorous process. And then there's background checks and all these other steps that they go through, which are for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
What was your app of choice before going on the show?
Ooh, app of choice, probably Instagram.
Okay.
Now it's probably X.
Okay. Well,
That
for
app
dating
is
though,
one.
did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
for dating.
dating.
Yeah, for dating.
Oh, then not Instagram. I did Hinge a lot in Chicago.
Okay.
Ladies, that was a
Um,
good answer that he first went to Instagram and X.
Yeah. I thought you meant like what
Yeah,
did I
no,
spend most
dating.
time on?
Hinge was it for you? 'Cause
Hinge
I think
was it.
Ben
I
said
would
the same thing.
download and
Yeah.
delete Bumble quite a bit. That's an interesting one because like I don't know. I like to know if the woman's interested too,
Yeah.
so if she has to make the first move or something. That's what that one is based on. But and Hinge too, it's a little overwhelming. There's so many people.
They're
on
all
there.
overwhelming. I mean,
Yeah.
it becomes to a point.
I want to create a dating app
Yeah.
at some point. I think I have a really good idea.
Oh,
I've just never had the right tools and resources to do it. But
If you're smart, you're not going to share it with us.
I
but
am.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
If you're-
I pitched it a couple of years ago to somebody that was thinking about investing in it to like design the app.
I'm
But
surprised Nick or Vanessa haven't come up with one.
yeah,
You know, I mean,
maybe
they
I'll
have
talk
so
to them
many.
about that.
Yeah, they have
'cause-
so many different.
yeah, and then give me a
shows.
free lifetime membership.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
You know, you bring something up that for you is so different from me. It's about the timeline of dating.
Mhm.
You know, going from my personal experience of what I'm at now, I met my Lauren June 20th of last year.
Okay.
On Bumble. And we've realized something in the process. And I know Stacey, we've all talked about this. It's not about how long you know someone. It's especially for a relationship. It's about the maturity level too. If you both have to be almost the same maturity level. You can't have someone that is up here and down here. And so it's for me. I've learned being 41 and my fiance being almost 41 that it really isn't about time anymore. It's
Mhm.
about connection. It's about energy. And you still were in your head about I've only known you this long. Is that
Mhm.
kind of and have you gotten over that?
A little bit. That's something that we can discuss in the later episodes, maybe. But I agree with you. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be about the length or duration of it, but I think timing is the most important. Both parties have to be in the exact same like timing in their life to make that leap.
Mhm.
So I think that's it's really tough. You know, that's part of the entire experiment. You know, you do the pod portion to get to know each other, see if you fall in love and get engaged, to the vacation where you start to discover like the physical aspect and see other people in person for the first time. And then to like move in with each other and then eventually like get married. Like there's a lot of different portions to this show. And yeah, I just think if the timing for both people matches up with all those other things, it's that's the most important.
We're also in a
So-
world now where people just want, hey, we
Inst-
like each other. Good. Let's just
Yeah.
let's
Instant
fast track this.
gratification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that.
And
And I
it's-
think the show plays on that.
Yeah,
a
and
lot.
that's what is really cool about the entire experiment and the pods is like it brought back the old version of dating, you know, like getting to know someone,
Mhm.
going through this process. I voiced in some of those interviews, I was like, man, I've been doing dating backwards for like 5 years. It's like I would
Huh.
do like the physical part, like maybe hook up a couple of times, and then you start to like go out to dinners and stuff like that, as opposed to like getting to know them first, going out on first dates and dinners, and then discovering the physical part after that.
Yeah.
I think I rediscovered like that's how you should date, not like if you hook up with somebody a couple of times and then
Mhm.
see if you like them, you know?
Yeah.
Were you worried about the moment you guys actually see each other? Like, what
my
if I
God.
don't find her
That
attractive?
sounds like the scariest thing.
I
Oh.
know.
That
I
is
was like,
the-
ooh.
I keep saying that is the most soberly blacked out I've ever been. Because it's like you're in this little room, you're looking at the ring, you're like trying to figure out, you're trying to look through the little crack if you can see an
Right?
outline
Please,
of the
please,
person.
please, please,
Yes.
please.
And yeah, I think everybody's worried about that. Again, whether they want to admit it or not, everyone's thinking about that.
Of course.
And then you have this long runway to like walk at each other. If you're Ben, you sprint at him.
That
or
was
something.
so adorable.
It looked like he was.
Oh, I
It looked
loved
like he
it.
was running from third to home.
He was
I
gonna, he was
know.
gonna,
He was gonna
like,
break stealing
yeah.
home.
Don't you
Yeah.
want to just pinch his
About to
little
dive
cheeks?
head first into home.
He
Right.
looked. He was actually coming across like a free safety. To be
I know.
honest, I thought he was gonna take her out.
Oh my God. Every woman fell in love with him right there.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Yeah. See, that's funny that you say that because like I feel like a lot of guys will give him shit about that. Be like,
Mhm.
okay, buddy, relax.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
women love him for it. So
Yeah,
you
okay,
can just
that's
tell everybody that.
No, the
Yeah,
guys deep down, anybody with emotions will watch that and just be like, good for him.
Yeah, I thought it was fun to watch, but yeah, you have this long runway, you have no idea, and there's all these cameras that are following you. Like
So
they
you're
have
like,
all the ones in the
"Oh."
ceilings and the walls and stuff, but then there's also like all these physical people with cameras following you too, and it's just like you're both trying to figure each other out as you're walking at each other, and you're like, am I walking weird? Like, am I doing something funny with my hands? Like, you're just thinking about all these things, and you can't even like really figure out the person in that moment.
We need to get you back because I know you can't answer it yet, but if you could come back on the show after everything airs in the reunion, because the question I want to ask you, and you could probably do a yes or no on this one, was not only the moment you see Lauren, but then the moment you're out in the real world and you see Molly for the first time.
Oh,
Awkward, weird,
yes.
probably, just because you were dating.
I'll have to come back and answer.
Okay.
that.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that has to be strange because you're with someone,
Right.
and then you were dating someone, you see them for the first time.
I do kind of recall that from the last season. I don't remember who I was watching, but watching them all and their eyes are wandering and
Yeah,
stuff. And you're like,
it's a
"Ugh."
weird thing.
Yeah.
And
It had to be
they
uncomfortable.
previewed that, right?
Yeah, there was.
So
They-
it's
they
not a
previewed
complete-
that.
It's
It's not.
It's
No.
something I can.
It's not a
probably
big surprise.
touch on.
There's no
Everyone,
context
especially who-
behind it.
All I'll say, and I hope this is okay to say, but like I was so focused on Lauren that I didn't care.
Yeah.
Really. I was like, ever since I met Lauren and did the reveal and met her in person, I was just so focused on her. And that was just kind of it for me. I kind of forgot about until I watched.
Well, it's funny because in the preview I see you guys go to Buck Hill because it says Buck Hill Road.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
Oh, they show that?
they show you guys getting together.
Looked like fun.
And I was like, we were literally just
Oof.
my fiance and I were literally just at Buck Hill with the skis, and we see you guys at the bar going down the tubes and all that stuff. And my Lauren and I were like, that's Buck Hill, and it says Buck Hill Road. So I know,
Yep.
and I know that's where you guys meet. But that whole process of meeting everyone that
Yeah.
you were talking to at some point is
And
just
I mean,
insane.
I met most of them on the getaway, obviously. But yeah, it was. I mean,
Insane.
that's gonna be funny to see how they show that because
Yeah.
we had a good time.
I
Okay.
bet.
I bet you
There's
did.
a lot
Yeah.
of booze flowing that night, so it'll be
Did
interesting.
Nick
to
Lachey ever
watch.
come to Minneapolis?
I believe he did.
Okay. I don't know if they'll
I
show
can't
Nick
it,
and
really
but-
talk
Vanessa
about
were
that.
but he's
how
a, he's,
cold is
a,
it?
he's a producer. I think he created the show with Vanessa. What are they
I don't
like?
really know.
What are they like as far as helping you through the process? And you know, I don't know what you can say and can't say about them, but
Yeah,
they seem super nice and genuine
yeah.
on screen and any interview
And
they do.
I had to watch before I went on and agreed to go do it. I did my research and went back and watched a few seasons and stuff. And it's funny that I was even thinking in my head because Vanessa, she kind of puts on this face at the reunions and things like that. I was like, I don't like her at all.
Yeah.
So I had this
Preconceived idea.
this preconceived idea that like, oh, I just don't like her at all or anything. And then in person, she's very sweet, genuine, and I think they're great.
I mean, our
And they do a
jobs
good
as
job.
interviewers is to get the answer out. It's to get, you know, and there's a lot of people that don't like me, you know, and everyone loves Stacy though. I mean, she's been doing this
But
forever
I'm
here in the
evil
Twin
on the
Cities.
inside.
But you're right. I mean, there are those preconceived notions, and I think we do let it play out. It's just it's hard because I'm sure you've done it. We've all done it where we want to get behind our keyboard and type something and say something. How do you not respond to those? How hard is it to not respond to comments of calling you
It's-
things that you feel you're not?
It's hard. It's definitely, I'm learning that in real time right now. Like I said, you kind of have this understanding, but you don't fully understand it until you go through what I'm going through right now. And we're all going through it together. Everybody is getting some sort of hate from these people out there for God knows what reason. And it is tough, like to hold that back. I mean, I don't even know if you made the connection or talked to Ben about it, but I also played baseball at Minnesota.
Yeah.
And
were you
went
guys the
through
same year?
No,
or
so we never played together.
Okay.
I'm
Mm.
exactly like 5 years older than him or something.
Okay.
So I must have graduated right before he came in or something. Anyway, we did a lot of training in terms of like how to process and manage feelings and heighten, moments of pressure, things like that. So I've fallen back a lot on those meetings that I went through in college, and you just got to take the high road, even if you're that tempted to, to type back or whatever you want to say to these people. It's like, what's good enough for me, my friends, family, and all the people closest to me, they all love me no matter what. So that's what's most important to me. I don't need millions of people around the world to love me. That's just like a type of validation some people need, but I definitely don't need that. And I fall back on that mindset. Like I'm not out there to impress anyone for, their entertainment. They're going to think the way they think regardless. And if it's not one thing, it's going to be something else.
Have you set a goal for yourself after this? Now that this is airing and aired, to this is how I can be better, or how I want to show up as a father or a husband. Is there something you've learned that you can?
There's nothing specific I've learned, but I think overall in general, the person I've become over the past year and a half even is just 10 years ahead of where I was even a couple years ago.
Growth.
Yeah, like it, and I've noticed it in myself, in terms of like what I do for work, what I do in my free time, how I spend my weekends.
Is that a scary feeling? Growth?
It is, for sure.
But it's a happy. It's
yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because you start to realize it. There's like things that come up, and you start to realize like, no, I don't need to go to the bar till 2 a.m. I'll do that every once in a while. Like I like to have fun, but I don't need to do that all the time. It's some of those things, just like growing up in general and like understanding this person that I've become and am becoming. Like that's what I'm focused on mostly, and just sticking to that because I know it's a good thing. And when people have negative things to say, I'm just going to ignore it best I can and keep on moving.
I'm going to give last thing, then I got to step out and do some stuff. But I give you a lot of credit. And Ben, whether people like you, don't like you, you had probably, if I were in your shoes, I'd probably choose not to do interviews and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's a unique situation where you guys are all really regular people who are now elevated in the spotlight to such a degree that's got to be overwhelming. Coming on and doing these podcasts humanizes you guys a little bit more to where you realize regular lad who's just trying to, it's very rare that you have to take a regular person and put them in there and be like, have you worked on yourself more? It's a weird thing. So thank you, because it helps us who listen, who watch the show, and everybody else who's watching it say like, he's a normal guy.
Hey,
he's just trying to figure it out.
I would say too, thank you for letting us do this stuff, because it's helped me a lot be able to express and, say how I feel about things and the way things are being perceived and stuff like that. So keeping that stuff internal, and also just like with friends and, our group chat as guys, it's helped a lot to do these kind of interviews and sit down and show how normal, and I'm a human being too. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. So it's definitely goes both ways.
Yeah. Cheers,
appreciate
man.
that.
Well done.
We definitely are excited for more seasons of this show to come out. And last question, what does your future look like? Is this something that you want to continue to do? I know going into the tech world with a new app and having these ideas, are you a creative type? Are you more of a what do you want to do with, as far as career maybe is concerned, with your future?
I actually love what I do right now. I got out of the medical device industry last year. I actually work with attorneys and law firms now for court reporting and case management, storing files, things like that. And it's been really good. I really love the industry. It's just a lot different of a vibe, in a good way. And I'm one of those people, I have so many ideas. They're probably not great business ideas, but I got a lot of ideas. So we'll see if something comes along. I'm just mostly focused on enjoying the ride right now as best I can. It's really hard to, I know a lot of other people are like trying to promote and like get all stuff, which good for them, whatever. If that stuff comes to me, I mean, I'll have those conversations, but it's not, what I'm focused on really.
We'd love to get you back after the reunion. I know you guys still haven't really done anything with that yet, and it's coming up, and it'll be shocking kind of to get everyone back together after such a long hiatus.
I know.
Yeah. Obviously, you guys, we all know they filmed this last year. We all know they filmed this last year because they were in town last year. And there wasn't
how pale some people are too.
Especially me. But the reunion is, I think, is going to be, it's probably going to have a focus on you.
For sure.
There's going to be some awkward moments.
And again, I'm excited for that, because it's, in my opinion, it should be just, I like to understand other people's, where they're coming from. I hope they do the same about me. And and I have nothing to hide or hold back. I feel like I did everything the right way and was just myself. So I got nothing really to say. I don't know.
Maybe there'll be some wedding news.
Who knows?
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Never know.
I did remember, just when you brought up the medical device thing, I was like, oh, it was Dave that said this. And granted, it might not be that funny because I had a couple of THC seltzers when I watched it. But you were in the pod. I don't remember if it was with Molly or Lauren, or actually who it was with.
I don't either.
But you were describing what you guys did for a living, and you were walking around the couch. You went, I'm in medical device, and you paused, and I could almost see your thought of just like, she's not going to understand this. And you went, things. I almost pissed myself. I was just like, it was interesting to watch. I could watch that dude's brain meat working, and it was just like, let's just keep it simple.
Yes, because it was hard to explain if I don't have 5-10 minutes.
And that's when you're staring through a wall and you have to determine like, what is she going to understand about that? It's a fascinating show. I hate it. And probably most people do hate it and love it.
You hate
Well,
that.
that's reality, you know. I mean,
love-hate relationship.
it's like the Kardashians.
I'm
like,
a hate watcher of
people
stuff, though. So.
hate it, but they love watching it. You know,
Mhm.
it's the thing. So I think from all three of us, we are excited to see the rest of the show where it goes, and especially the reunion. So you definitely have to come back.
Yeah, I will. I will. It's not
And
far.
no matter what happens with you and Lauren, I would love to get you guys back together just to talk about things. And I know no matter what happened, you have developed some really good friendships, people that you can lean on, which we all need. We all need people in our lives that we can lean on and that we can trust. And I know, speaking to Ben, he's said nothing but great things about you. And
Yeah.
so,
Hey, vice versa.
yeah.
Feeling is mutual for sure.
And I'm glad I was right about you.
Yeah.
I am too.
But most importantly,
I'm still
that.
watching, Dave.
Hey,
I am
you're
still
not sold
watching.
yet. I
you.
get that. Ben told me right away. He's like, he's not sold on you.
Okay.
yeah. But the most important thing is that you work on yourself. Okay. So
You know what?
Find a good
Hey, we're all
therapist.
doing our best, right?
Yeah.
go to
At least
therapy,
most
get a
people are.
doctor.
Most people are doing their best. None of us are perfect, and we're all trying to figure it out. So
Well, good luck to you in the lawyer things that you're,
Lawyer
that you're
And the
doing.
stuff.
And the
And the
app.
stuff.
Like, yeah, if you come up with an app, we'd love to hear the idea
Sure.
after you copyright it and
Right.
trademark it. And,
Right.
and,
Yeah,
and
love
do
I think
that.
it's a great idea because I'm kind of an old school at heart. So.
Is it an app where it's just like do your own thing and then that's all it says? Because honestly, if it's an app, it's got to be so unique and different. I feel like there's so many out there that are just the same. It's all
so
swiping.
I agree, and that's where this idea came
Okay.
into place. It's a mixture of like old school dating plus new school kind of put together. And
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Well, we
think
can't
people would
wait.
like it. I would use it.
We can't.
honestly.
We can't wait for it. We can't
I'm saying
wait
if
to-
I had to, I would use it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where again, people are so just drawn out of
Mm-hmm.
dating, especially after COVID and how it did. So if you've got a great idea, capitalize on it
Mhm.
and maybe help some people out. So
Sure. Yeah.
there you go. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, man. We do
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
you all. I appreciate it.
And of course, you can check out Love is Blind on Netflix. As you're seeing this now, if you're watching this live, new episodes come out on Friday. I think 3 are Friday, it
I
said.
think 3.
And then 2, and then reunion.
Yeah,
So
reunion.
it's going to be
Woo.
crazy. So, all right. Thanks for joining us, Dave. And of course, get more Stacey Not Say Too Much on wherever you get your podcast or at ks95.com.